fun because things are actually happening. Very different than most of the time when people get elected.
And I will shut down the federal Department of Education, and we will move everything back to the state.
Most of the time when people get elected, they claim all these things when they're running for president. Then they get into office and not much changes.
Individualize education and do it with the love for their children.
And in fact, a lot of what they campaigned on, they don't practice at all. Great example is the Obama administration. The Hope and Change website had to be changed because there was a bunch of stuff in there about whistleblowers.
No, I don't think Mr. Snowden was a patriot. I called for a thorough review of our surveillance operations before Mr. Snowden made these leaks. My preference would have been for a lawful, orderly examination of these laws.
Protecting whistleblowers, which they didn't do at all. There was one of the worst administrations for whistleblowers.
It's refreshing when things actually start happening differently from the usual political routine. Typically, politicians make bold promises while campaigning, like shutting down the Department of Education and returning power to the states, but once they're elected, very little changes. Most of the time, their grand visions disappear the moment they step into office. They don't follow through, and their actions rarely reflect what they ran on. Take the Obama administration as an example. The Hope and Change platform sounded promising, especially with its
Obama did it, and it's disgusting. It's a disgusting lie. Let's play it.
Said that there were very fine people on both sides of a white supremacist rally.
You also had people that were very fine people on both sides. I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists.
See, that's crazy. I have never seen that last part of it
because the news has said that lie over and over and over and
emphasis on protecting whistleblowers. But in reality, Obama's presidency was one of the harshest for whistleblowers. The website promoting whistleblower protections quietly changed, and instead of support, we saw surveillance crackdowns. Snowden wasn't seen as a patriot. Obama said he preferred a lawful review of surveillance laws, but that never happened. Then along comes Joe Rogan. When he set his sights on Obama, it was like Hope and Change got code by elk meat and microdosing. Rogan didn't just criticize him, he dismantled the image. It turned Obama from a polished statesman into a live-action TED Talk on how not to face racism.
Can I get a glass of water? I'm serious. I'm thirsty. Can I get a glass of water? This is not a prank.
You never seen it?
No.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
Oh,
it's amazing.
No.
He gets a glass of Flint tap water, and I swear to God, he drinks it like this.
Problem is solved?
Bullshitting the world. Watch this.
Can I get some water? I really did need a glass of water. This is not a stunt.
Usually when something isn't a stunt, you have to say
it's
that.
It's 100% a stunt. When was the last time a president stopped a speech to ask, can I get a glass of water? What? They would never do that. They would have water ready for him. No, you bring a fucking water on stage with you.
Reality. If you thought presidential speeches were slick, just wait until Rogan picks them apart with a protein shake and a raised eyebrow. This roast hit harder than Obama's drone program. Obama's presidency was like a guy at the gym who spends 40 minutes flexing in front of a mirror but can't bench a bag of marshmallows. He talked a big game hope, change, unity, but it often felt like motivational poster material pinned to a sinking ship. Meanwhile, crises spread and he smiled through it, like it was all just another stand-up special. Remember that moment when he asked for a glass of water during a speech?
Obama, during this Kamala Harris administration, it changed my opinion of that guy.
I don't understand how we got so toxic, so divided, and so bitter. And
He said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that.
Did you have a high opinion of him before?
Yeah, I did just as an intelligent person, a statesman. He's probably like caught up in the system. It's very difficult to make real meaningful change. You think you're going to do something and then you get into office and you're like, oh God, what a quagmire this place is. But watching him just straight up
and insisted it wasn't a stunt, that's exactly when you know it was a stunt. You don't stop mid-speech for a water break unless you're trying to make a point. Any president would have water waiting, or at least bring their own. But he acted like drinking Flint tap water on stage was going to magically fix everything. And Joe Rogan. He didn't even come in hot. He just leaned back, raised an eyebrow, and dropped one of those classic Rogan truth bombs that left the whole narrative shaken. And then came the curveballs and, just like that, the guy started glitching like a Wi-Fi router in a basement. That polished charm? gone.
Obama during this Kamala Harris administration, it changed my opinion of that guy.
I don't understand how we got so toxic, so divided, and so bitter. And
He said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that.
Did you have a high opinion of him before?
Yeah, I did just as an intelligent person, a statesman. He's probably like caught up in the system. It's very difficult to make real meaningful change. You think you're going to do something and then you get into office and you're like, oh God, what a quagmire this place is. But watching him just straight up lie.
Suddenly, the calm, collected, cool persona crumbled into a malfunctioning spokesperson trying to sell expired hope. Joe Rogan didn't roast Obama, he dissected him, piece by piece, until all that was left was a suit, a smile, and no answers. Watching Obama during this Biden-Harris era changed my whole opinion of him. I used to respect the guy, thought he was intelligent, a real statesman. Maybe caught up in the system, sure, but still someone who meant well. I figured it must be hard to create real change once you step into that political machinery. You get elected thinking you're going to shake things up, and then boom, you're knee-deep in bureaucracy, a swamp of compromise. But watching him straight up lie, that was the breaking point. Obama was supposed to be a revolutionary. Instead, he became the guy who shows up to a revolution, takes a selfie, and sells the footage to Netflix. Underneath the eloquence and Spotify-curated swagger was a politician so mass-produced he made IKEA furniture look artisanal. The man could give a 40-minute speech on empathy and then drone strike a village before the applause faded. He talked about peace the way fast food chains talk about health, technically, but with a side of deep-fried contradiction. And yes, Donald Trump saying he wanted generals like Hitler had, that was appalling. Of course, but that doesn't excuse Obama's failures. They're both symptoms.
You see that? He sips it like this. He barely drank it.
there you go. Generally, I have not been doing stunts here, but
Watch this. What was that?
it just confirms Flint water is drinkable.
Get him gallons of that and then monitor his diarrhea.
He wants Hitler's generals to take over, and he's genuinely dangerous. Cut to yesterday and the two of them. There they are chatting. Barack's laughing, genuinely laughing, to where like his body is shaking.
Symptoms of the same broken system, just in different outfits. Joe Rogan, meanwhile, dismantled Obama with nothing more than logic in that signature. Delivery, part curiosity, part are you serious right now? No charts, no think tank lingo. Just a simple, honest question. Wait, isn't that completely nuts? And suddenly, the entire Obama legacy started shaking like a house of cards built on drone strikes. This was the guy who swore his presidency would be defined by transparency, and then left behind a surveillance state so bloated it could qualify for its own zip code. It's like promising to clean your attic and instead installing a conveyor belt that dumps in more junk, and the drones. Obama treated them like fidget spinners with missiles. While the rest of the world played Fruit Ninja, he was busy playing God. Joe nailed it. If your definition of winning still leaves people selling their cars to afford stitches, maybe it's not a win. When seeing a doctor requires 3 logins, a 90-minute explicable video, and a decoder ring from a cereal box just to figure out the bill, you're not fixing the system. You're building a bureaucratic escape room. And somehow, Obama sold that with a smile. Remember the Flint water stunt? He sipped it like a sommelier doing damage control. Barely drank it, then said, "Generally, I haven't been doing stunts here. But watch this." What was that? It didn't fit.
He's a Netflix producer, along with his 8-petaled wife, Michelle. He's producing more racial division. The latest is called Leave the World Behind. It's a fictional thriller about the collapse of technology and what humans would do with no phones or computers. The movie follows a family on vacation at a rental house, and one night they're visited by a father and a daughter who show up seeking shelter. They say their phones no longer work and they need a place to stay. So immediately the white family, because they're evil, that's encoded in their DNA of course, is suspicious of the visitors because they're black. And it goes on and on and on like this. Here's a clip.
I'm asking for you to remember that if the world falls apart, trust should not be doled out easily to anyone, especially white people.
Can't trust white people. They're evil. This is the guy, remember, who became famous at the Democratic Convention in 2004 by telling us there is no white America, there's no black America, it's just one America. But of course, that's not really a profit model in politics, is it? So he's been stoking race hatred ever since, and the disarray around us is the...
Get him gallons of that Flint water and monitor the diarrhea. The man who once warned about generals like Hitler's is now joking around with a guy who practically asked for them. Cut to yesterday, Obama and Trump, side by side, laughing, and not just polite laughter, Obama's body shaking with genuine amusement. The whole thing felt surreal. Let's not forget the economy. Obama rode the recovery wave like a kid claiming he built the roller coaster. Joe Rogan summed it up better. Congratulations on surviving the crash. You did nothing to prevent then giving yourself a trophy for not immediately burning the house down afterward. Obama could spin a recession into character development. Unemployment, a teachable moment. Wage stagnation. Resilience training, baby dot, and then there's race. Obama had a historic opportunity to bring real unity. Instead, he poured organic essential oils on a 5-alarm dumpster fire and called it aromatherapy. He played both sides like a wedding DJ trying to please boomers and Gen Z at the same time dropping beats for progressives. Then moonwalking back to Wall Street when the lights came on. One day, he's the face of change. The next, he's cashing million-dollar checks from the very banks that helped crater the economy. Rogan didn't laugh because it was funny. He laughed because the absurdity reached a level parody couldn't touch. Obama became the remix of hope with auto-tuned accountability. Now he's a Netflix producer alongside his 8-foot-tall adult wife, Michelle, dishing out
on stage, and he roasted Trump.
Donald Trump is here tonight.
And one of the lines he said to Trump, he said, "I'm one thing that you'll never be," which is the president of the United States.
Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
And you could see Trump in his head going, okay, I'm going to run now. That one moment where Obama was talking shit to him might be the reason why Trump was like, I'll show you.
Dystopian racial allegories wrapped in streaming drama. Take Leave the World Behind. It's a fictional apocalypse thriller, but really, it's a lecture. A white family on vacation is visited by a black father and daughter seeking shelter. Immediately, the white family is portrayed as suspicious because they're white, and evil is baked into their DNA. Apparently, it spirals from there. At one point, a character literally says, "Trust should not be handed out as two white people." This is the same Obama who electrified the 2004 DNC by declaring, "There's no white America. There's no black America. There's just the United States of America." That line made him a star, but it's not a viable business model in modern politics. So he flipped the script, and ever since, he's been stoking division while claiming to heal it. The results speak for themselves. Joe Rogan didn't need a think tank, Ivy League staffers, or polished teleprompters. Just a mic, 2 functioning brain cells, and the guts to say what half the country's been thinking while the other half tweets hope from their Teslas. Meanwhile, Obama's pushing the literary equivalent of a Netflix reboot memoir too, Electric Boogaloo, because nothing says still relatable like a $65 million book deal, a sprawling foundation, and an $80 coffee mug. The Obama Foundation promised to uplift communities.
When they gave that speech, when he gave a speech on television, and everybody was like, "F this," and then they were, it kind of just went away.
It was one of the most beautiful moments in modern American history. People really actually stood up and stopped a war from happening.
Today, I authorize the Armed Forces of the United States to begin a limited military action in Libya in support of an international effort to protect Libyan civilians.
What it delivered, uplifted egos, TED Talk speeches, and branding slicker than Amazon. It's like the Avengers but if they wore suits, mumbled about systemic change, and posed for drone shots. At this point, the only thing Obama's really elevated is the nation's tolerance for motivational word salads. Oh, and let's not forget climate change. This is the same guy who bought beachfront property after warning us all about rising sea levels. Obama bought beachfront property, presumably to keep an eye on the rising sea levels he warned us about. Because nothing says climate emergency like building your dream mansion on the very land you claimed would be underwater. Then there was that infamous roast. Obama on stage, smirking as he said, "Donald Trump is here tonight. I'm the one thing you'll never be president of the United States." Cue Trump's face locking in like a villain origin story. You can almost hear him thinking, okay, why?
His last tweet from Saturday, which is the day this had unleashed it when it started overnight Friday, was, "For decades, Narges Mohammadi has been a vocal advocate for women and girls in Iran. This Nobel Prize is a well-deserved recognition of her courage and the hope that she represents not only for women in Iran, but women fighting repression and violence around the world." How about the women who actually were the victim of repression and violence in Israel? No words for them, former President Obama? Nothing to say about the children being murdered in Israel? So far, I guess he couldn't find time to actually use his little thumbs and tweet something.
Watch me. That moment may have been the spark. Obama played it for laugh, Trump played it for keeps. It's like giving a TED Talk on fire safety while flipping burgers over a gasoline fire, or calmly urging passengers to stay calm on the Titanic, while soaking in a hot tub on the upper deck with champagne and compostable straws. In foreign policy, Obama's measured approach meant drone strikes delivered like Amazon packages, military contracts handed out like Halloween candy brought to you by Lockheed Martin. He'd bomb a wedding, then send heartfelt condolences like empathy could reassemble the bodies. The media, they adored him like a teenager loves a boy band blindly, obsessively, and never asking hard questions. Meanwhile, Rogan simply asked the one thing no one else would: why? Why did Wall Street get richer? Why did healthcare become a bureaucratic escape room? Why did Americans still feel like they were sprinting in financial quicksand? Obama's politics were pure photo op theater. Smile, wave, croon a line of Al Green, then pass legislation that padded corporate pockets, and called it progress. Rogan saw right through the stage lighting. He didn't care if you could sing, he cared if your policies screwed the average American who's too broke to enjoy your poetry.
Volume and go full screen.
What you know now, do you wish you had a third term? You know what, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony, I'd be fine with that.
We know he wasn't really running the country. Yeah. We used to think he was actually running the country, and now they're like, no, he didn't even see those executive orders. That was all auto.
Remember that moment when the country said no? That brief spark? When people stood up and actually stopped a war? And then Obama stood on national TV and said, "Today, I authorize the armed forces of the United States to begin a limited military action in Libya." So much for restraint. So much for hope. That wasn't progress, it was regression with a better vocabulary. Let's talk about surveillance. Under Obama, the national security state didn't shrink, it morphed into an Orwellian funhouse. Bulk data collection, secret backdoors, unchecked spying, all dressed up in a suit and tie. He expanded.
Still just as bitter as ever. There's such a great new spin of complaints here. Here's one from her most recent episode, which still on YouTube she's got like 200,000 subscribers. It's really amazing that now she's been doing this for how many episodes? She's been literally on every podcast of the left wing promoting it, and that's still all she's managed to get. Here she is interviewing Dr. Sharon Malone, perhaps better known as former Attorney General Eric Holder's wife. And therein lies the problem, as these two ladies, married to two very famous men, are pissed that they are not the alpha in terms of popularity and recognition.
Did what Bush started and got a Peace Prize for it. And somehow, through all this, Obama still sees himself as the wise dad of democracy.com, intellectual, above the noise. Meanwhile, the country's been grounded for a decade, eating ramen and chasing the memory of yes we can. Rogan's critique wasn't explosive, it was surgical. He didn't rant. He raised an eyebrow and asked the obvious, are we seriously doing this? And let's not forget the smug detachment. Obama gives speeches like he's narrating a Ken Burns documentary about a country he used to run and now only vaguely respects. He's not mad, he's disappointed. His last tweet, a tribute to Narges Mohammadi, the Iranian Nobel Prize winner, praising her courage and her fight for women's rights around the world. Nothing, not one word about the Israeli women raped, beaten, and murdered by Hamas just days earlier.